like, shit, I was just protecting my little brother.
When you did finally find out that it was King Von who did it, how'd you feel?
Okay, so things just took a crazy turn for Lil Durk. After he got arrested in connection with the whole Lil Pab case, some rappers started throwing shade at him. But here's where it gets interesting. The very same day Durk was taken into custody, Lil Tim, the guy who took King Von's life, did an interview. And in that interview, he straight up said that everything leading to Lil Pab's death never should have happened. Wild, right? Tim even said that Durk could have completely messed up his own life by trying to get revenge on a beef that he and Quando Rondo had been trying to squash. And speaking of Quando Rondo, it's important to touch on something he said that got a lot of people thinking. During one of his interviews, Quando admitted that things could have been handled a lot differently. So he was reflecting on the ongoing violence and beefs that had been consuming the streets, and he acknowledged that there might have been a better way to resolve everything, maybe through music or simply by taking a more peaceful approach. He emphasized how the entire situation seemed unnecessary and could have been avoided if cooler heads had prevailed. He mentioned that everyone involved in these feuds has families, kids, and loved ones who care deeply about them. For him, it was about realizing that the cycle of violence only hurts the people around you, and it's not worth it. At least that's the way he framed it. Now, these words from Quando Rondo hit differently when you really think about them. He wasn't just speaking out about the violence, he was also calling for a shift in perspective, a call for peace, even if it's just in his own way. But here's the thing, fans couldn't help but notice how Quando's comments might have been more than just a genuine reflection on the violence. It felt like he was trying to deflect attention away from his own involvement in the ongoing conflict, especially considering his previous involvement in the beef with Lil Durk and the tragic loss of King Von. People began wondering if this was a strategy to protect his own image, or if he was simply trying to distance himself from the growing tension that was starting to engulf him and his camp. It's interesting to consider the timing of Quando's comments. He made them during a period when both he and Durk were under heavy scrutiny for their roles in this ongoing feud. When things get heated and emotions are running high, a statement like that could be seen as an attempt to smooth things over, to remind everyone that there's more at stake here than just the street beef. He was talking about the bigger picture, the families that are affected, the kids who grow up in these environments, and the people who are left to pick up the pieces after the violence settles down. It was almost like Quando was trying to bring some perspective to the madness, urging everyone to take a step back and reassess the situation. But it wasn't just about peace and family. Quando also made a point about the choices everyone involved was making. He alluded to the idea that maybe things didn't need to escalate in the way they had. We could have handled this differently, he said. And that's a sentiment that a lot of people could get behind. It's a difficult conversation to have because so much of the culture and lifestyle surrounding these beefs is tied to pride, respect, and reputation. When you're in the streets, it's hard to back down without feeling like you've lost face. But Quando seemed to be suggesting that the solution didn't have to involve more violence or retaliation. It could have been resolved in a different way, through words, through music, or through some form of resolution that didn't involve anyone losing their life. And let's be real, the fact that he's openly saying this when so much of the violence has been driven by personal vendettas shows some level of maturity on his part. But fans were quick to pick up on the nuances of his words. Could this be an attempt at saving face? Could Quando be positioning himself as the voice of reason, even though he was at the heart of the conflict? The question became, was Quando genuinely trying to make peace, or was he simply trying to deflect attention from his role in the situation? It's not hard to see why fans would think the latter. When you're constantly under the spotlight, especially when you've been publicly tied to a beef as intense as the one with Durk, you start looking for ways to protect your image, and what better way to do that than by calling for peace and unity? When you're trying to steer clear of legal consequences, negative publicity, or further violence, a statement like that could act as a shield. It's not to say that Quando didn't believe in what he was saying, but there was definitely an element of strategy behind his words. This idea of deflecting attention is something that has been common in the rap game for a while. When you're caught up in something that's escalating, whether it's a beef or a criminal case, you need to find ways to manage your public image. A lot of times, people will lean into positive messaging, preaching peace and resolution, when they're faced with the reality of what their actions might cost them. And fans who follow every move know when someone's words don't exactly match their actions. Quando might have genuinely meant what he said, but the fact that he had to say it in the first place, especially when emotions were so raw, made people wonder if he was just trying to manage the narrative. Another layer to this is how Quando's comments fit into the larger context of the rap industry. Violence and beef have been an undeniable part of rap culture for decades, and many fans have gotten used to the back and forth, the diss tracks, and the street beefs that fuel so much of the drama. But at the same time, rap also has a long history of artists using their platform to call for change. Look at Tupac, Jay-Z, or even Kendrick Lamar, who have all used their music and words to shed light on the struggles of street life while also pushing for peace and resolution. Quando's comments in some ways were him stepping into that same space, attempting to be a voice of reason in an environment that thrives on aggression. But whether fans see it as genuine or as a strategic move, one thing is clear. Quando is trying to shift the narrative. He's trying to show that he's more than just another rapper caught up in a deadly feud. His words are meant to create a sense of reflection, to make people think about the consequences of their actions. Maybe he's learned from the situation, or maybe he's just trying to protect himself. Either way, his comments added a layer of complexity to the ongoing drama and kept fans on edge, wondering what's really going on behind the scenes. At the end of the day, the question remains, was Quando just trying to clear his conscience and call for peace, or was he cleverly deflecting attention from his own role in this ongoing drama? Fans will keep analyzing his words, trying to figure out where he stands. But in the world of rap beef, sometimes it's hard to tell what's real and what's just part of the game. And as this saga continues to unfold, it'll be interesting to see how Quando's message is received and if it has the power to change the narrative around him. Now, here's where it gets even crazier. Sources close to Durk say his sudden transfer to a new prison wasn't random. It had to do with some serious problems in his cell block. With Durk being such a high-profile rapper, some people were coming after him for commissary and money. But here's the thing, Durk actually had a phone call from prison that got leaked. In the call, he sounded positive, talking about staying strong and wanting to get back to his kids and family, but DJ Academics wasn't feeling it. He went off about how it wasn't cool that the phone call was shared with everyone. But wait, there's more. Some fans think there's more going on than just a leaked phone call. Apparently, Quando Rondo was trying to plot revenge on Durk for Lil Pab, but when he realized Durk wasn't backing down and was ready to make moves on his own, Quando stopped. And then there's OTF member Jam, who's been in the spotlight recently. Rumor has it that Jam was hiding out in Atlanta after some major drama went down. Apparently he snitched on Durk, and some photos even came out showing where he was staying. Jam has gone completely silent since then. But the twist? Durk had his back through it all. He paid for Jam's protection in jail, helped with his car and crib when he got out, and even gave him $50 K. And yet Jam still flipped on him. To make things even more complicated, Jam got caught again for possession of a firearm after he got out. Sources say he chose to snitch to avoid more time behind bars. It's a lot to take in, especially when you think about all the loyalty Durk showed him. So what's the deal? Was it all about the money? Fans are left wondering if there's a bigger story here. It seems like this whole situation with Durk is far from over. Will he be able to navigate all this drama, or is it just getting started? Stay tuned, because there's definitely more to this story than meets the eye.
Because you just came home not too long ago, like when you come home.
So I've been home a little bit over a year.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit over a year.
So things with Lil Durk are getting pretty intense right now. The prosecutors are bringing in OTF Jam to give some serious evidence, and now the judge has decided to use Durk's own lyrics in the case. Yep, they're pulling lyrics like "Look on the news and see your son screaming no, where Durk seems to be mocking Quando Rondo's reaction to the hit. Not looking good, right? But it doesn't stop there. They've also submitted lines like "Told me they got an Addy," "They got the location," which some people think could be about Brick Baby giving Durk the location of Quando Rondo. That's a big claim if it's true. And then there's this one line from Durk that's got everyone talking. He casually says, "What's wrong with giving my friend the address?" It sounds innocent enough on the surface, right? But when you dig a little deeper, it raises some serious questions. Durk doesn't stop there. He goes on to say, 9 times out of 10, if he asked me, I probably would have given it to him. That's a huge statement, especially considering everything that's been going on. So fans and critics alike have been reading between the lines of these words, and it's hard not to wonder, is Durk admitting to being involved in something more serious than just words in his music? To fully understand why this line is getting so much attention, let's break it down. Durk's words, while seemingly straightforward, could be seen as a subtle confession, or at least an implication of some involvement in the situation he's been tied to. By saying 9 times out of 10, he's not just hypothetically talking about what could happen, he's giving the impression that this type of action is something he'd do regularly. It's almost like he's saying, yeah, if it were up to me, I'd help out my friend, no questions asked. This is exactly what gets fans wondering, was Durk actually involved in the situation in question? Or was he simply making a statement that reflects a certain mindset, one where loyalty to friends outweighs everything else, even the consequences? Fans who followed Durk's career, especially his involvement in high-profile beefs and street-level conflicts, are quick to analyze every word. And here's where things get tricky. Durk is known for his real-life lyrics that often mirror the street life he's been a part of. So when he says something like this, it's not just a throwaway line, it's being dissected for hidden meanings. Some fans see it as a subtle acknowledgement of his role in the events surrounding the violence. Could this statement be seen as him confessing to giving the information that led to certain actions? It sure sounds like it could be. The fact that Durk is openly admitting that he would have helped out a friend if asked speaks volumes in a world where loyalty is everything and where actions often speak louder than words. What really adds fuel to the fire is the context in which Durk made this statement. With everything that's been happening in his life, beefing with rival rappers, facing legal issues, and dealing with the aftermath of the loss of King Von, every little comment is being scrutinized. Fans are connecting the dots, asking themselves, was Durk involved in the events leading up to violence against his enemies? Is this line a sign of him trying to cover his tracks, or is it simply a reflection of the loyalty he feels toward his circle? Some fans, however, argue that Durk's line could be misinterpreted. They believe that what he was really trying to say is just about being loyal to his people, regardless of the situation. In their view, Durk's words weren't meant to indicate guilt or any illegal activity. Instead, it was him just being real, expressing that when someone close to you asks for help, you do what you can, even if that help is something as simple as sharing an address. Still, even with this defense, the line remains open to interpretation. Could Durk's casual tone be a way of distancing himself from any real involvement, or is it a way of showing just how far his loyalty goes? It's also important to consider the broader context of the street culture that Durk is a part of. In the world that Durk and many other rappers come from, loyalty to your friends and family is everything. In this environment, giving someone the address could be seen as a small act of friendship, not necessarily a criminal act, but in a court of law or under the watchful eyes of fans and law enforcement, even these small acts can carry weight and be seen in a different light. The more Durk's words are examined, the more they raise the question of how much he is really involved in the drama surrounding his name. Is he just another rapper using his music to reflect his life, or is he genuinely involved in the situations his lyrics describe? And if he is involved, how much does he want the public to know? Fans have a lot to say about it, and they're not letting up on trying to piece together the puzzle of Durk's life, one lyric at a time. But regardless of what fans believe, one thing is clear: Durk's words are causing a stir. Whether he was intentionally dropping clues or just speaking from the heart, his statement has left a lot of people wondering about his level of involvement. And while the jury is still out on what his true intentions were, it's safe to say that this one line will continue to fuel conversations about his role in everything that's been happening around him. To make things even more interesting, a video leaked showing Durk with some of the suspects tied to the case. King Von is in the clip too, hanging out with these guys D-Voney and Boogie, who are allegedly connected to the hit. Things are starting to add up. Or maybe it's just looking like IT. But hold up, there's more. The feds didn't stop at just the lyrics. They also dropped a bombshell, an old Instagram live from Lil Durk, recorded on the very day of Lil Pab's passing. Now here's where things get a little tricky. According to some sources, the authorities believe that Durk might have been trying to create an alibi during that live session. It's a pretty bold claim, but the timing of it all raises some serious questions. Of course, there are those who think Durk had no sinister intentions at all. They argue that Durk is just living his life trying to maintain his image as a successful rapper, despite the drama surrounding him. Instagram Live is a platform where celebrities engage with their followers, and maybe that's all Durk was doing, just talking about his jewelry like a lot of rappers do. But the fact that it happened on such a significant day only complicates things. Could he have been so out of touch with what was happening that he didn't even think it would raise questions, or was he too clever, thinking that a casual Instagram live would serve as a perfect way to distract from the real conversation? There's no clear answer here, and that's what makes this situation so murky. Some fans think Durk is innocent and that he was just doing what any rapper would do to keep their brand strong and their followers engaged. But for others, the Instagram live feels like an attempt to cover his tracks or throw people off the scent. The debate is still open, and the more we learn about the case, the more complicated it gets. One thing's for sure, though, Durk isn't backing down. Whether this Instagram live was part of a bigger plan to distance himself from the chaos or just a regular post that went down at the wrong time, Durk is fully aware that all eyes are on him. And with the legal case still developing, it's clear that we haven't seen the last of these twists and turns. How will Durk handle the pressure moving forward? Only time will tell. Fans are seriously upset about Durk's involvement, and honestly, it makes sense. Then Charleston White chimed in, saying this could actually be a real victory for the community, especially if it means the end of drill music's dark influence. He called it a demonic force that spread across the US and believes we might never hear drill music the same way again. Bold statement, but he makes a point. Now, if you think this beef between Durk and Quando Rondo is over, think again. Quando came for King Von hard with lyrics like "Man ran up on me, then we sprayed him." Talking lights out, Durk didn't just let that slide. It said he started planning something big in response, even dropping hints in his own lyrics. They like, "Durk, he a singer, he won't do something? You can believe whatever you want, I got your folks hit." And yeah, the hit was reported not long after. Now there's a search on for 3 people involved in the whole thing, and it went down in LA. Crazy, right? But here's the thing, Durk isn't backing down. He's hired one of the best attorneys, Drew Findling, and he's fighting the charges. He pled not guilty to everything tied to this whole scheme against Quando Rondo. His hearing is set for December 12th, right after he was transferred from Miami Federal Detention. So what's going to happen next? Will Durk walk away clean, or is more drama on the way?